Sprinks, are you a Barbie girl in a Barbie world? No. Have you seen the trailer?
Oh,
for the
because I
Barbie
seen the trailer?
movie? Yeah.
I mean, I'm interested. I believe I'll go see it in theaters.
Hello,
All
everybody,
right.
and welcome to Season 7 Recap. I'm one of your hosts, a Geeky Writer.
I'm Crimson Maroon.
I'm a character called Sinister Boy.
And I'm Sprinks, and I got cut off abrasively by Writer there.
Oh, is that you?
I was gonna go on about all the Kens.
Oh, then go on about the Kens.
Dude, Michael Cera is a Ken? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, in what world?
That's
Well, I always thought he was kind of smooth down there, so
That's true. That would make sense. But then you watch Juno, and you're like, how do you do that?
that's fair. I actually didn't know Michael Cera was a part of the movie.
It's a big
the
cast.
problem was is that like after like all the cast announcements with the posters, everybody started making fake posters for a bunch of people, so it was really hard to tell which was real and which was fake.
That's
Funny.
also true.
Gotta love the internet.
Season 7 recap.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody's gonna do a timestamp for that.
Probably. I got a funny question, I guess. If you
Perfect.
Shoot it.
If you can live one life of any character from this season, who would you pick?
Oh wow.
One light, the entirety of their life, or just the
Events of the movie.
what took place in the movie?
The entirety of their life.
Oh boy, I know who's at the bottom of my list.
Hmm. I guess
Mater.
Luke
Part 2.
No.
Oh,
Pixar
yeah,
movies
that's a
feel like
question.
cop-outs.
Yeah, how do we treat the tier list in these questions? Should it be just disqualified with these type of questions?
Probably should be.
Yeah. All right. Lou, pick and pull, I think, for me. You have a
Peck
pretty
and
decent
paw?
life for him.
Yeah.
Pick and paw. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was probably between him and maybe, well, I was gonna say Matt Morgan, but knowing where the Willow show goes, I'm not sure I want to do that one anymore. So I think Peck and Paw is probably my choice too.
Sure, you don't want to be Geppetto and lose your son and lose yourself in alcohol for who knows how many
I lose
years?
myself in alcohol due to school. I'm okay. I don't need any more reason.
You know what? I'll take up Writer. I'd be Matt Mardigan.
It'd be a fun life. Very adventurous, admittedly.
Yeah. I mean, everything that happens in the Willow show is technically hearsay. It's not shown anyway, so it could be stories that have spread thin. Who knows?
Who knows? It'd probably be between Pinocchio or Sebastian.
Yeah, I'm already kind of lived Sebastian's life. Just instead of, I'm just not stomped on is the only real difference.
Yeah.
Get stomped on by life.
Yeah,
Writer.
that's true.
That's interesting. Sinister. My bottom of my list would be Pinocchio.
But he's so happy.
It's more interesting.
I mean, you'd be immortal, which would be the benefit of it, I suppose.
I see that as
not
the
by the
detriment.
You're not immortal.
They show that he's immortal.
Yes, but he's not like immortal in the sense of like he will live forever. He's immortal in the sense that like he will eventually die and not be able to come back.
Yeah, if someone tries to kill him, he'll be dead.
Yeah, he can't die by like normal.
He's out of lives now.
Yeah.
He won't die from aging or cancer. But maybe termite or rot. I don't know.
We go to the same.
I would like to congratulate everybody for not picking Benito Mussolini, because if you did, I had some bad news, I'm afraid.
Yeah, funny enough, being a fascist does not end well for you. I don't know.
Not even in my top 5.
Plus, who'd want to be short? Yeah, right.
Yeah. Crimson, are you the shortest
every
of us?
house be a palace?
No, I'm not the shortest of us.
Well, no, but if you check on YouTube, if that's what you're currently watching, you can see we're all the same size.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Actually, Crimson made himself 1 centimeter tall.
Well,
Oh, because
well,
of his hat.
I
Gosh,
mean,
darn it, I'm not supposed to say that. It's 2 pixels, actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, who else got anything?
Yeah, all right. So I'll go. So it's not specific to the season. It's kind of the channel as a whole, or the podcast as a whole. I went and averaged all of our individual scores. I'm gonna have you guys guess your own. So, writer, what do you think? Oh, and I rounded up to the nearest 0.5.
like all of them
so-
together, or
Everything objective, subjective, I combined and averaged out.
okay? Are we
What
guessing
do you
just
think?
our own, or guessing everybody's
just-
together, like the groups?
Well, I guess we can collectively debate on that. Do you want to each guess on each other's or just your own?
This seems like a fun little game if you can write them all down. See who was the closest to guessing the other person's.
All right, give me a moment to.
I probably
Sweet,
should.
well,
I probably should disqualify myself because I have a tier list up, or our
Well,
rating list up.
that's just for the season. That's not overall. What Crimson's saying is the entirety of all seasons up to this point.
Were you?
But anyway, while we let Crimson go with that, I'll take the time to say thank you for listening. And if you haven't already, you can follow us on social media platforms that we have. We are at Cheap Seat Critics over on Instagram and TikTok. And if you remove that last S to at Cheap Seat Critic, that is our Twitter. We also Cheap Seat Critics Podcast, full name, all capitals, over on Facebook. And then again, YouTube, if you want to see the slideshow we have going on and our little PNG tubers that move. We also have a letterbox if you're interested in more of the graphs and averages that Crimson brought up.
All right, I have my little thing written down. So yes, this is averaged across every podcast we've done, excluding recap, obviously, because we don't have a rating scoring system for that.
We should start
And
rating
the tier list.
recaps. What they
Yeah, I rate this recap a solid nothing right now because we're not done yet. All right, so I guess we'll just go in our normal order. Writer, what do you think your average is? Round it to the nearest 0.5.
I'm gonna go with 4.5. I think.
All right. Sprinks, what do you think is writers?
He has 4 1s. I know that.
No, I have
4-1.
3 ones. I think.
I thought Doctor
I mean,
Strange and
This is counting objective and subjective.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wasn't Mars Needs Moms also both ones?
I'm looking at my chart, and
Oh,
writer
yeah,
has
yeah.
5 1s.
Right.
5 1s.
Sorry. Yeah, if it's
Oh, I remember
both,
4
yeah,
ones, but-
then I probably highballed it then.
Shoot. Yeah, it might be lower than that. I'm gonna go for I'm gonna go 4.
Okay. Sinister, same question.
what's writers?
Yep.
4.5.
4.5. All right. Right. I'll try to give the answers at the end or when we finish a person.
No, well,
God,
just
shoot,
when you
you're
finish
the one who
person.
pitched the idea.
So I'd
Well, this
say-
is a little different than I envisioned it.
Yeah.
Right. I'll just do it at the end. All right. So, writer, Sprinks is
And you
average.
lost 5 audience members. Go on.
Sprinks is average.
Yes.
7. No, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with 6.5.
6.5. Sprinks.
I think I'm the hardest one to figure out. 5.5.
5.5. And Sinister.
I'm gonna say 8.
8. All right. And lastly, writer, Sinister's average. Wait, no. Well, I guess
I
I
mean, lastly, can't we do yours?
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. I scratched mine off
No,
thinking I
he's
can't
out.
vote
He's
for
not in
myself.
the thing.
I'm out because I know the answers, so you don't even get to guess. No. All right. Then I guess we're out of order then. That's fine. Writer, do Sinister's average.
Please.
No,
Please.
do it.
I'm gonna go with, I think, a 6.
6. Okay. Sprinks.
Well, Well, Sinister hasn't been. There's some that he hasn't been a part of, and then his aren't averaged, objective, subjective because there's one scoring. So I feel in one way that makes it easier to guess, but
The ones he is not present don't count as zeros. I just didn't calculate those.
okay, they just don't calculate as the total to divide by. Shoot. I'm gonna 0.5 is. I'm gonna go 4.5.
4.5. And Sinister yourself.
Let's say 6.
6. All right. Writer for me.
I'm gonna go 5.5. I'm gonna go right down the middle for you.
All right. Sprinks.
I'm in agreement. Right down the middle, 5.5. You don't seem to go far on left or right.
All right. And Sinister.
I'm gonna go 5.
5. All right.
By the way, Crimson, I'd like to thank you for putting me in the middle because I feel like in the back of your mind you knew I was gonna Price's Right this somehow.
Sure. That's
In
exactly
normal
my
order.
intention.
It's in normal order, and going down the line here.
Let's see. All right. So, writer's average is surprisingly, this was kind of surprising. 5.5. Writer, you gave yourself 4.5. Sinister, you gave him a 4.5. So I guess you two were closer. Oh, there you go.
I can probably explain that. It's because when when something's higher on my like objective scale, I tend to enjoy it more too. So like if I give something an objective 7, my subjective is probably higher sometimes. So that might be why it's shaped up to me that way.
You've given a lot of high subjective stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You have several 8.5s and a 9. So. All right, and then for Sprinks, your average is 6.5. So Ryder nailed it on the head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sinister, your average is 5. So you're all off by 0.5 from the total. Very close. And then you guys were pretty spot on with me, 5.5.
Nice. I got one correct.
Awesome. Walked away with 2. I'm surprised. I know my friends.
Yeah, but 25% is still a fail, so I failed.
Congratulations, Ryder. You won this little game.
Yeah,
if there's winners.
What do I get?
Congratulations.
You get to pitch the next question.
There you go.
All right. Sinister, what did you think of the Willow TV show?
That wasn't a part of the actual podcast.
Yeah, I know. But you said
Well, no. Yeah, no. I'm just keep facing it. People might have seen it. I did talk to Crimson a little bit about it afterwards, just to kind of get the gist of talked about it. I don't think I thought it was as bad as Sprinks and you, Ryder, thought it was. I thought it was just like. It wasn't great. It was a Disney Plus show, so I mean, it wasn't. Honestly, I mean, even if it hadn't been Willow, it probably wouldn't have been that great anyways. But I thought it was serviceable for what it was for the most part. It was a couple of things. Most of, I think, my problems were just I don't think it needed to be as long as it was, and I don't think. And I think there was an overabundance of red herrings for no reason whatsoever. And I'm sure there was other things that you guys probably already discussed and talked on, because that was a 6-hour-long podcast. But yeah, so I don't know. I thought it was okay. Probably it was passable up until the final episode when it got knocked down to a less than passable score. But for most of it, I thought it was okay.
Yeah, I don't think we really talked about the podcast. Did we talk about the pacing issues the show had?
I think we did. Yeah.
It was a long podcast.
Not super in depth, but it was covered.
It was an honorable mention. Yeah. The show had definitely suffered from pacing issues. I think the biggest moment that I can think of, and I think Sprinks might agree with me, is when two characters are about to kiss in the forest, and then one just is instantly kidnapped by trolls.
I don't know. I don't know if that's a pacing thing. That's just a tone shift.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with both.
I mean, it's a pacing issue if you count into the fact that they've already kissed, so they're kind of making it seem like will they, won't they, unnecessarily, because it doesn't really, and then it kind of doesn't really matter because they just kind of have more than enough time by the end of it.
I keep forgetting that Kit kissed
Yeah.
Jade in their barracks.
The first episode.
The first episode,
and then they turn into a giant, huge deal throughout the rest
then
of
it's
the
a
show.
big cat and mouse game.
Yeah.
Well
But
written.
yeah, I think pacing was an issue.
Now,
Length was an issue.
Sinister, when you said that you didn't quite agree with how Ryder and I took of the show, were you putting that in subjective?
The way you guys were talking about it, it was like as bad as Velma, and I don't think it was as bad as Velma.
He's talking.
No.
For context, he's talking about the meme chat.
Yeah, the meme chat.
That's what he's going off.
Got it.
Oh, you're going.
Okay.
I had to.
You're going off of Writers Reacts chat.
Yeah,
we have a separate Discord reaction section where Ryder puts in timestamps of, for context of things that occurred in the show.
I'm watching it.
Yeah.
I'm watching it and I'm looking at the timestamps to try to guess what is going on. And honestly, I gave up after the first one because I was just like, I can't see everything that was an issue. I think with Ryder was very, very specific, and it was hard for me to relate to. But yeah.
To kind of explain at least the first one, because the first one threw everybody off. That's me reacting to the denim jacket that Willow was wearing. Completely unfantasy like.
But I mean, my score, I gave it an objective 6, which is just on par. Like, it's good. Yeah. It's not great. It's not, not necessarily something I'd recommend, but it could have been worse.
To give you also context, I think I gave it the lowest score and I gave it a 3.5. But that kind of fits for me. So, like, I had a lot of writing issues with it. But I did think the other departments did a decent job. Like, I think the costume department, outside of the denim jackets, was pretty decent, and among other things. So,
are you saying those counted for your scoring objectively?
No, I don't count this in my objective score.
Okay, the way you phrased it sounded like it.
Sorry, my bad. No, that still hasn't changed. I don't count all that. I'm like, those were nicer. Like, I acknowledge that it's not as bad as other things normally, or as some other things are in that category. But yeah, that didn't factor into my objective score. Mine was space building and the writing. But yeah, Velma was definitely far, far worse.
And Sinister, I don't know if you stated it, but now that you've seen the show, what's the score you give it?
4.
Okay. So
pretty in line with everybody.
Yeah.
In the sense of subjective.
It was hemorrhaging on a 5, and then I would have had to move the movie up to a 6 because I don't think it was. I think the movie was better than the show, so I'd have to done that. But still think
which brings me to a question for Crimson.
Mm-hmm.
Did you enjoy the movie and the show equally, since you gave them both the same subjective score?
Yeah, I brought that up in the podcast. Yes, for different reasons, but I did value the enjoyment level at the same.
I'm
just
reiterating it now in case those who haven't had the time for the 6 hours.
So you can get the audience to grab their pitchforks for me. Thank you. Okay, they already did it in the video.
Some people go, it's too lengthy, can't do it. Just listen to it in the recap. So I'm bringing it up now, just in case.
Don't worry, we'll do a special edition. We'll split it up into 2 parts.
The thing is, with Crimson as well, it was different things that brought down the scores. Like, I know the movie, he really hates the brownie characters.
And this, he really hated the brownie characters because they came back again. He was just like,
no, they were better in this.
He was like, they should have learned their lesson. No brownie characters.
Yeah, I actually don't know what dragged it down for you to the level the brownie characters did in the movie. If you could elaborate on that, if you have the comparison.
Like why it bugged me, or
no, like something equivalent in the show, because you said they're the same. So I'm curious as to what. Because I know the brownie character is what dragged the movie down, so I'm curious as to what, like, I guess affected the show in the same way. or if it was a collection of things.
Well, I think it's a death by 1,000 paper cuts kind of deal. Like the brownies in the movie was like a gouge, but in the
Okay.
show, gouge. But in the show, there's a lot of small things that I think added up to the size of the wound of the brownies.
Okay.
Because obviously we discussed how the show isn't extremely well written, and like the relationship between Jade and Kit felt natural, but there were missteps during it. Obviously, like we brought up, why is there a cat and mouse when in the episode 1 they showed them kissing already?
Because her
What's
name
the
is
point
really
of it?
close to Cat, but it's Kit, so they have to.
Oh, there you go. I didn't see that. When Kit and Dove were locked up, I brought up how I didn't like that scene very well.
I didn't either.
The whole, I think it was episode 6, was the camp, right?
Yeah.
Hated that episode. There was not much redeeming for that one.
Wildwood.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was just awful.
Normally, like those episodes are the kind of episodes I dig in TV shows. Like, oh yeah, this is time that we get to character build, and just get to see the characters bounce off each other. Didn't get that like at all. And
Well,
also
that's
it was
another thing
bad
with
and badly
pacing.
written. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if this is pacing, but I think with a show like this, it should start off fairly lighthearted, and then as it progresses, it should get darker and more serious as it goes on.
Yeah.
And I kind of got that they were doing that, and then there'd just be moments where they just start making jokes, or it would be like,
Yeah.
like episode 7, where they're in the the scattered sea or whatever, and they're going crazy. That should be a moment where they all kind of start going at each other, and all these tensions build up. But then it's just like, no, we're just gonna walk. We're just gonna start walking, and it's all gonna be fine. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
There needs to be
Sinister,
something.
You've been here
Sinister,
for
you not being
months.
a part in that podcast, we discussed
Let's
at
Let's
episode
just do the
7.
podcast here. Let's just do this. This will be that.
Well,
podcast
I'm just bringing up because you're asking questions about it.
Yeah.
Reiterating. Episode 7, we discussed that the bonding and whatnot between the characters shown in episode 7 should have been in episode 2.
And the training arc stuff.
Yeah.
I
And then Crimson, the Wildwood was episode 5, not 6.
Oh, okay.
Episode
Still the
4 was
worst.
the tower. Okay.
And for the movie, it wasn't just the brownies; it was the brownies in the final act that I didn't like.
Much
What, the
like the
disappearing
final act
pig
of the
act?
show, didn't really hold up.
And
I think it
since
was
they're going
cool.
off of you saying the start kind of goofy to serious, I feel like the only kind of plot or storyline that fit that was Eric's. Eric didn't really crack jokes.
No,
towards the end.
I reject that. Eric was totally useless in this whole thing. I don't.
Fuck.
They could have done this movie. Not sorry, movie. They could have done the show without him, because he doesn't. He's in the first episode. Doesn't appear to like the third one, fourth one. I don't. But
the very end of
Mhm.
one of them.
and then he's just like little bits of him in there, and you don't see anything of his journey into this kind of like dark descent or anything. There's no real motive behind it from the first episode. There's nothing there.
The
It's-
journey to Dark Descent is I'm dying of thirst. that's pretty much what it
That's
felt
fine.
like. Which is weird.
That's fine, but it doesn't match the level. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah,
match.
I agree, because he does 180 pretty much to like.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
and
kind of like Wanda with the book.
yeah.
She takes the book, then she's bad. And this, he's not bad once he's thirsty. Once he consumes it,
then
he
it
turns
turns
bad. Because the next
yeah.
time we see him, he's just bad. Like Sinister said, we don't get to see how it turned him bad.
Because
He's just bad.
because I was into that, because I like that idea of sort of, you think it's going to be Kid or whatever is going to be like the harbinger of darkness and all that fucking stuff, and then it's Eric, but it's like there's really no reason why Eric would be the one, because Kid's the one who has all the unrequited aggression and jealousy and all this other stuff, and Eric is just like a normal dude, so it doesn't really make tonal sense for him to be the one that would be, other than just to be like, you thought we tricked you, it's going to be the other thing. That's what I'm saying. There could have been something there, but they didn't build upon it enough.
See, what you didn't take into account is he's stupid.
Yeah,
There you
he's
go.
really gullible. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
She tricked him into all of his fingers and penis were going to fall off or whatever. if he didn't drink vinegar.
All right. I guess we could transition that to least favorite character
Ooh.
for this season.
I'll go. Gives me time to think.
Well, since you volunteered to go last, how about you go first, Springs?
I'll go middle ground.
All right, let's see. So for me, well, it's going to be from one of the Willows. Which one is it going to be? Brownies in the movie or
Brownies in the TV show.
Yeah. All right. I guess just the brownies in the movie. I don't even remember their names.
Frangine and Brule.
Yeah.
See, my issue with I kind of go with what Sinister said. Willow is a lot of good character archetypes. They didn't do much with though, but like just them being decent archetypes puts them on a pretty decent level of not being terrible. Shoot. Least favorite character.
No, strike that. I thought more about it. I'll say Kit.
I think I'm in agreement.
Yeah, I think Kit might take it for me as well. Because I really wanted to like Kit, but they didn't.
Three-way tie for Kit.
Yeah, it's probably gonna
Like
be.
Velma.
It's probably gonna be Kit or Benito Mussolini, but that's for meta reasons, not for the Pinocchio reasons.
Actually, you know what? I'll say this: it's either Kit or Borman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Borman's a caricature. I can understand the choice for that.
I like what they're going for with him, but I don't feel like it's necessary. It doesn't end up being as necessary for the plot as they kind of made it seem like it was going to be. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's just a side thing for the armor, which we talked about whether or not the armor was
also
relevant.
He's also just like a caricature for Matt Mardigan, basically.
That's what I say. They sapped some of the goofier traits of Matt Mardigan and put it into this character to make him. They don't do much with it, sadly.
My answer would be Jade.
See, I think Jade actually had.
I think she's worse off than Kit. I complained for a good hour and a half about her whole connection to Ballantyne and how that was underutilized and a pain, and then she 180'd against her whole upbringing, against her new sister, and just it was I
mean, you're not wrong.
Kit was a little slower and definitely bumpy from the start to end, but
my thing is with Kit. My thing with Kit is Kit has a lot of promise innately just put into her, and then none of that gets delivered. Jade doesn't really have a whole lot that's promised of her character. So when she kind of doesn't reach a full potential with it, it doesn't feel as detrimental. But with Kit, it feels like it's really shallow because you know that there was more that could have been done with it than they did in the show. That's my part of it. Jade, I was surprised that they did as much with Jade as they did because I just didn't feel like she was going to be a big part. So that's why I think Jade's a little bit better because she doesn't have that same level of promise that she doesn't fulfill. She doesn't fulfill it all the way either, but I'm just saying I don't think there's innately that level like there is with Kit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's a good outlook on it.
Yeah.
So everything from the Willow show is what I heard.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I just think it just was. Yeah, it just wasn't well written. There's a lot of good ideas in there. There's a lot of good setup and stuff. It's just not really.
Yeah.
It's not put together very well.
Yeah, that's one of the things. That was one of my conclusions walking away from the show is that there was a lot of good concepts and a lot of good potential just in everything innately with the show because they have an entire world to expand on and play with, and they don't really capitalize on any of it, which really hampers the show. I think because
4 episodes in, they're still in the same area from the movie.
Yeah,
which feels like I don't know. It feels like a really slow and unnecessary.
The geography problem.
Yeah,
well,
I added that into more world building problems with that. there was a lot of, yeah, that's just how the show felt in general. I get that. So I guess I'll transition this into a favorite character.
Brinks, I think you could go first this time.
You know what? I think that's fair. Thanks, Crimson.
Yeah.
Favorite character? Oh, I do like Geppetto. I think Geppetto was really good, but I'm gonna have to go with the movie Mad Mardigan.
Yeah, I have a lot of I get that. I'll go next. I have a lot of nostalgia for Mad Mortigan as well, so he'd probably be my go-to favorite as well. Though it's a really, honestly, it's a three-way. Well, it's a two-way tie. I think Mad Mortigan and Peck and Paw are probably. I'm stuck going back and forth between the two. And the one that just got cut is probably Sebastian, just because I relate to a lot of that for obvious meta reasons.
So for me, this is an interesting one because I'm looking at what we have, and really, like, none of the characters in these are characters I'll probably think of again. Like, I don't really, they don't have any lasting power with me. I don't really care about.
Really?
Too much.
Even with your choice of
again.
Cheap Detective with Peckinpah?
It's not
Yeah,
even a-
like I brought up in the podcast, I only saw that movie once going into the before presenting it for the podcast pick.
Did you like it last time you watched it more than this time you watched it, or?
No, it did go up 0.5 in my subjective, and we covered it.
It aged really well,
but it's still I think I gave it a 5.5 or something.
Yes.
So still pretty average enjoyment level. So it's kind of tough. It'll probably be Lou, but it's not like, man, Lou's an awesome character. I love him. It's just like, out of what's here, it's probably going to have to be Lou.
And Sinister. From what you've seen of this season, anyway.
Yeah, I missed one movie, but so that might have helped me a little bit more. I'll say probably Pinocchio is one of my favorite. Just because I've only really seen like the Disney versions or whatever of Pinocchio before, and I kind of liked that characterization is okay because he's just sort of naive, but I think Guillermo del Toro found kind of a surprisingly, there's like 50 or 60 or maybe even 100 different versions of Pinocchio out there. I think he found one that was kind of a little bit more interesting. Created one that was a little bit more interesting. To kind of actually be like, you know what, I kind of want to rewatch that because I might get some more out of it the second time I watch it, and I did.
Yeah, I still need to watch the behind the scenes stuff for Pinocchio.
I watched the behind the scenes stuff. It's
pretty
pretty
good.
Interesting. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
I want to do that this weekend.
Speaking about behind the scenes, Crimson shared behind the scenes of the Willow film with
Yes,
stuff I've never seen.
And he found out why something got cut because it doesn't make sense in the movie.
Yeah, a large discussion we had was the acorns, and they discuss it in the behind the scenes / deleted scenes. He actually used them on a monster, and they cut it out.
Well,
Crazy.
Also,
And he had 3 definitive acorns
from the start.
From the start,
for the
yeah.
high eld one.
So he had one technically left by the end of it then. But I guess that
Since it got cut, yeah.
Yeah.
Something that I don't know any other really deleted scene of sort that has shown a deleted plot, like the one shown in the behind the scenes of Willow of everything with Sorcerer's dad. That was like 5 scenes and lines cut out of the whole film.
I mean, yeah, that's how it works usually.
Yeah.
And it was a good choice because 1, it wouldn't. Well, I don't think it would have blended very well. And 2, the actor for the dad sucked.
He's in the movie in one scene.
He had one
I guess-
line, and it was not a good line.
It
I
is
was
interesting
amazed
to
to know-
compare it. It's interesting to compare it to like Bad Morta because she's actually, I mean, probably one of the best like villain actresses in the.
She's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And still amazed to know that the frozen rocks in Tears Lean when they arrive in Willow were actually people in like these stands.
No, they actually like
transparently.
froze them with stone. They actually used real magic on the.
Yeah,
Well,
they
I thought it
hired
was
Mr.
just-
Freeze. He was in the behind the scenes.
Oh, I thought it was like models and I don't know, some kind of sculptured rock.
It's cheaper
probably should have
just to get actors to do it.
Honestly, it probably should have been. I don't know. It probably should have been just little caricatures or whatever. But yeah, it's probably cheaper just to do real people.
Costs a lot of money to make realistic looking dummies.
Yeah.
Oh, they spent a lot of money on Fish Boy.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Fishy boy.
I think Sorsha is probably still my choice for character with wasted potential.
Yeah. Even in the
If that was the
show.
question, yeah.
Yeah, I don't
They
think
gave
I don't
her
think
more
it is.
potential in the show.
They gave her more potential that they wasted. Yeah.
It's so weird. We're just gonna be talking about that this whole time.
My only
daughter.
daughter, go off and
That is,
die. Save your brother. I don't want to
So
see you
mean.
anymore. You're such a pain.
She's so mean to Willow in the show. Unbelievable.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
talked about that too.
Show called Willow, and he's the whole
Sideline.
first
You're not-
episode. He's like at the very end.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
felt
think
like
the
I was
show's
watching
good.
a longer version of The Last Jedi for a fair bit of it, and
That
I
was
didn't
the,
I didn't enjoy
well,
that.
That was the other thing. That was my other big problem. Is the contradictory level of Willow's ability doesn't make any sense.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
At one moment he's the most powerful wizard in the world, and he's like, I am just a simple trickster. I have no power. And then but then he's like shooting full on beams at people. Like, what the
Yeah,
hell?
he's like,
Mac,
I must
Mac could probably
conserve
take
my
on
magic.
Voldemort with the magic I can see him putting around.
Yeah.
I can't use all my magic in one day. I have to save it. And at the end, he's like, "Oh, I got surplus."
But we gotta stop talking about Willow.
Yeah.
It's gonna become Willow part 3.
Well, I mean, the season did have a lot of Willow over it. Something we haven't touched much on is what were your thoughts? And apologies to Sinister who wasn't a part of this one, but the Pixar tier list, something different.
Yeah,
this season.
in this corner over here.
It was it was a good experiment this season. I actually quite enjoyed it. It went as well. It went better than I thought it would. It did. So, it was the hallmark of a good compromise that I wasn't fully happy with everything, but
Yeah,
I
me
think that's,
too.
yeah. I'm still
My
not
proudest moment was converting Ryder to raising Cars 2.
Cars
as F.
2.
I can't
That
believe
was
it.
so satisfying.
Cars 2 is still an F. Go back and rewatch it. Not good.
It's not. I agree, but Crimson made a point.
Oh,
And he was correct.
You go with the rating of objective. You
It
stick
does-
with that rating, and you go, "Oh, the characters aren't different. Characters aren't broken."
Yeah,
This is a
the
little
Who cares
plot.
about characters?
The,
I mean,
plot.
come on.
The plot
But
is terrible. It's
I was
on-
I was talking to
awful,
Crimson.
but
It's nothing to do. Well, this has something to do with Cars, the movie,
Huh.
because obviously, and Pixar very very famous for doing top tier animation, top tier stories, all that stuff, right? But I feel like Cars is like the black sheep of their whole franchise because there's so many sequels and all of them are worse than the last one, right?
Yeah,
I've
I
been
I guess
told.
like the spin-offs, Planes, which no one cares about.
Yeah.
Not technically Pixar.
Well,
but-
yeah, that's not.
I've been told Cars 3
That's
is
not
better, but then Cars 2, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
so-
Either way, like even if they get better along the lines slightly, it's like nobody cares enough
It's
to
too
watch
late
them
now,
because too cash grabby. But I said, you know what I would love to do based on that is I would like to make like a pretty decent movie, right? Like you do like a Cars or whatever, which is everybody guys pretty well, it's like a pretty good movie. And then just do cash grab sequel like after and just get progressively worse and worse. And then you go to like number 5.
All right.
And it's like a masterpiece, but nobody's watching it because everybody just think
think-
it's like
I just came up with a good movie concept for the Cars universe. It would be a plane spinoff, but I would turn all my favorite World War II ace pilots into planes, so they would just be the planes, not the people flying them, and they would be caricatures in the war.
Isn't that a scene in the Planes movie?
I don't
no,
know.
it's Dunkirk.
Isn't there a scene in the Planes movie where they're like in combat being shot down by
Wait, hold on.
aircraft carriers.
Are you right now admitting that you saw the Planes movie?
I've seen planes.
I don't know. I haven't seen Planes. So
I saw it once. So I hardly remember it, but that does.
I don't know.
seem
I don't know
familiar.
if they're original characters or the actual pilots, but I
imagine
Well,
the scene
there's
is
no
like
humans.
Yeah.
remember
No, well, I mean,
It's
like the
ruined the
actual
war.
pilots would be turned into planes in my version of the movie. So I don't know if they're
like
toying around with
humans?
original characters or not.
humans would be turned into. Okay.
If Doc Hudson was a veteran.
This
uh,
character.
yeah.
To echo writer, I think the tier list went pretty well. Went about as long as I thought. It went smoother than I thought. And yeah, there you go.
I still think the Black Sheep, with what Sinister said was Cars. I think it's Good Dinosaur still.
haven't seen
That
it.
replaced it, but
We kind of
I'm just talking about who's actually got sequels. I think that Cars is like the Black Sheep.
Good Dinosaur, having watched it, was just average across the board. Like I don't like. Yeah, sure, the
It's
animation
the safest movie I think they've ever made.
Overall,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like the most
in
average
popularity,
movie. Yeah.
it's one
It's
that
true,
not a
yeah.
lot of people know or even recall being a Pixar film.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always thought it was DreamWorks. Honestly, it just didn't. Everything I saw of it didn't scream Pixar. Except obviously the animation, but still.
It's got that
Sinister.
Ice Age kind of feel.
Sinister, since you weren't present in the tier list, for audience sake, what is your top 3 favorite Pixar movies?
Oh,
Since
And maybe
you
your
probably
top
have
3
all
worst.
27.
All
yeah.
26.
I
Yeah.
own all 30 on my bookshelf, and let's see. Number 1, Ants.
Yeah, that's not.
Number 2, Shrek.
Finally enough, that's how the tier list started. Crimson and I were arguing.
No, this is an unpopular opinion, probably. I prefer Ants over Bug's Life. I said it. There you go.
It's out there.
It's out there. Probably Toy Story. I don't know if I put the second one first. No, I'll say the first one. I'll do the first one. Second one is better, but I think for my enjoyment, I like the first one more because Woody's a dick through most of it.
Okay.
Number 2 would probably be Ratatouille. And number 3 would be
Toy Story 2.
I did like Cars a lot. Okay, but I haven't seen it in a while, so I don't know if it would still hold up, the first one. For convenience sake and not me just sitting here in silence for like 5 minutes, I'll probably just say Toy Story 2 would be my third one. But I would.
Okay.
That's fair.
Out
I'm
of
more
those
tempted to
3,
think that I would, yeah.
Toy Story 2 was an S, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had 2
we only
S's.
had 2 and S's at the end.
Yes. We
Yeah,
had
Toy Story 2 and Incredibles.
I might put Incredibles at number 3, actually. If I only had to pick one per series, I'd probably do Incredibles.
Mhm.
What was it? Ryder, you pitched Wall-E as being S. I pitched Monsters, Inc.
Yeah, like I said,
Yeah,
I restricted myself to 2 S's and I restricted myself to 2 F tiers. So yeah.
I think Wall-E could contend to be an S, depending on.
Yeah.
But
I settled for an A.
I understand the
'cause-
human.
Yeah, I settled for an A because you know.
Yeah. I think
I
was just-
understand that like the human part is like meh, but
I was for the Pixar tier list. I think it went smoother than I expected. But I was actually surprised we didn't have a pick that was really different spectrums between anyone. Like when something
Coco
was pitched,
was pretty far from you guys.
Coco,
From me.
I think Coco and Onward were the 2 that we had to discuss in depth a little more.
yeah,
I
think I was higher. I think we said
Yeah, on
it was a
Onward,
B for
Onward,
Onward or something. but-
Onward, you were
Ryder had it as D,
Yeah,
and Sprinks had it as B.
yeah.
I think.
I think you know what. Honest, I only watched it once, and it was a while ago. But I think it's probably like a B. Maybe argue up to an A. I don't. D seems.
Yeah, I wasn't moving. I had seen it twice. That was a movie I saw fresh for the tier list.
It's on. I mean, I like the movie that is basically that movie but better, which is The Book of Life, which is by Jorge Gutierrez, of that Tigre fame, El Tigre, which is better. I think a better summation of that same sort of story, but told better. You know, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Watch that and then not watch Coco, I guess.
Comparing that to Coco.
Yeah, no,
what you
Book
mean, not
of
Onward.
Life is no, I'm comparing Book of Life to Onward because
Okay,
I
I got a little
know.
confused. I thought
I
that's
was with you,
know.
Sprinks. I thought you were talking.
I know. I forgot about Onward because the rest of the world did as well. So
That's
Fair enough.
Sorry, Springs.
listen,
you
I like the idea.
You
I
mentioned
like
it.
the
It was in
idea.
theaters
COVID
2 weeks and
time.
COVID hit.
Yeah.
So
I like the idea, but it also I heard from a bunch of people that it didn't really deliver on that idea very well. That's all I'm
Yeah.
gonna say.
Yeah, that's what I felt
it's
about
fine.
it. Yeah.
I think we put it in a C. So
Yep.
That's
Works.
fair.
I guess my question. This one's kind of tough. If you don't have one, I guess you don't have to answer it. Any rating? Any surprise ratings or thought relating to someone's ratings?
I'm surprised you rated The Willow Show because it was exactly the same as the movie. So
Yeah.
why even bother?
I mean, I stated that earlier. So
I didn't. I actually wasn't all that surprised. Crimson has a strange relationship with fantasy, so I just chopped it up.
No,
to,
I get it.
I just chopped it up to that.
I guess I do find it kind of surprising. We all pretty much found Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio pretty equal.
Yeah, 4 7s, 3 8s. Yeah, we were in the same ballpark there for sure.
Yeah, probably one of our closest actually, across anything.
Fit everyone's kind of objective scale and likeness.
Yeah.
Lots of love went in that movie.
Yeah,
And
you make something good,
and that love came through. So
Yep.
But
I hope he does more stop motion stuff because I think he
definitely has an eye for it. I would love to see Guillermo del Toro do some more stop motion stuff. I know it takes a long time, but he definitely has the eye for it, and I would love to see him do some more horror, like Corpse Bride-esque kind of stuff, because that seems like the kind of thing he would be really good at.
Coraline.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's always
15 years of development.
They said 15, but I don't know how much of that was actually in production.
I think the filming was at least 3 years, 3 or 4 years, but the development of it was way longer than that. Yeah.
For me, go ahead.
You go.
Well, I'm just going to have a ratings question. So if you wanted to talk more about Pinocchio.
Oh, I was just gonna say because as much as I like Leica Studios, I like their earlier stuff where it was really dark and a little bit more serious, and then they kind of got less and less with every movie. But
I'm in agreement.
But see, yeah, that's the thing, and it's still animated great, but I feel like stop motion kind of lends itself to like this kind of creepiness to it, just because of its dolls and figures and stuff, and Leica's kind of like the only. So this was like the only movie that I've seen probably recently that was stop motion that wasn't made by Leica, and it was that same kind of dark, not like overly like it wasn't a horror movie, but it was like
it's got the gothic,
a little bit dark
kind of
gothic, yeah, like old folklore kind of thing. And
Sister, are you a fan of Wallace and Gromit?
Yeah, that's different. Like that's a little bit different, but it's similar. Yeah,
my Curse of the Were-Rabbit kind of, I guess, fits in there,
dark.
but
yeah, but
standard.
I think the shorts aren't that dark, with the few exceptions. But no, I just mean like
the moon, Gromit.
Chase, we gotta go with this Wensleydale. And then Gromit, he's just like
blink, blink.
Right, yeah. But no, so it just made me watching this. I was like, I wish Leica would make stuff like this again. I just wish there was like more people making that kind of stuff because, like I said, Leica's I think the only one who does only
stop motion nowadays.
Yeah, there's really I mean, there's others. There's like there's Robot Chickens doing shows and stuff. But I mean like a lot of people are doing like stop motion movies, and I guess there was also Wendell and Wild, which came out like a couple months ago, or last year, done by Henry Selick. But there's not that many people doing it because it's it's time consuming and it's expensive. But I think Guillermo del Toro probably has the best eye for it. Oh, and I guess Wes Anderson's done too, so there's hope out there, but his aren't really that's gothic. But you got a rating question?
Did for Sprinks.
Oh boy.
So it's not a drastic one, but it is one I thought about. It's only a 0.5 difference, but I'd still like to pick your brain on it. Why The Cheap Detective and Willow are like, why is Willow 0.5 more than Cheap Detective for you?
Oh, for objective?
Yeah.
I think Willow. Maybe I just need to give Cheap Detective a second viewing with more understanding because I only watched it once and no took on it. But Cheap Detective can be confusing. I still don't know her real name. The lady who gives like 20 different names and trying to follow out the plot, and there's 3 plots going on, and the document one for the husband to leave on the boat wasn't very strong, but still present and kind of so it's just kind of hard to follow, and they play it because of the whole shtick with it of that airplane like humor. How much of it is played as the gag or like the pun versus what is the serious to the plot to move forward. So I think that confusion is purposeful in the script because it's written that way and acted out that way of the physical comedy to get to show what the film is portraying, but it's also a little loose for my taste, I think, and it could have been stronger for easier to follow along, whereas Willow is point A to point B, and it has its flaws here and there of what's one that comes? I guess the dragon, just how everyone's still fighting even though there's a dragon present, and no one's really looking at the dragon for a while. Even though it's huge and breathing fire, but still gets conquered.
Wait, it was a dragon who was huge and breathing fire? That doesn't sound like any dragon I've ever heard of.
Well, to be fair to that, Kale is actually directing soldiers to shoot their bows and arrows at the dragon for a fair bit of that scene, while Mad Mortigan's playing attrition battle. So
then there's the troll that comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
The
uncivilized ones. We have to specify now.
Yeah, did you like
right.
Did you like the trolls in the show better or the trolls in the movie?
Stupid.
No, the trolls in the movie were much better.
I liked the smooth talking one just because he seemed like actually.
You should hear what I had.
Sure, he would have been fine if we didn't have the movie version.
Yeah.
But since we had the movie version, it wasn't good.
I like the. Well, I was
going to
say.
Enjoy it.
I like the movie version better because they're creepy and it's kind of.
They're beasts.
They're
not
beasts.
Yeah.
But
cognizant.
I like that. I like the one character in the Willow show. The rest of them were like meh.
But yes, the Crimson for your question. I just think, I guess it's also in the realm. I guess it's a little bit of writing, pacing, and plot structure that I believe Willow did evenly more than Cheap Detective.
Okay.
Are you satisfied with that answer?
Yeah, I'm satisfied with that answer.
Yeah, I don't
it
really
adds
have
up
any.
to the 0.5.
Yeah, I don't really have any rating questions, so.
Yeah, we didn't have as much stuff to cover rating wise, and we were all pretty on board with each other's ratings, pretty similar throughout most of our picks this season.
Yeah. All right. Do we got a favorite scene, everybody?
Oh boy, favorite scene.
I can go first because mine was pretty easy for me.
Oh, good. All right, go for it.
All right. Okay. Well, I got 2, but I'm gonna go with Pinocchio because the other one's cheating because it's nostalgia for Willow. I like the war game scene in Willow a lot. Yes, everything around it's broken, but I still love it.
Oh, the paintball?
Yes, the war games, the paintball. I actually really like that scene. And we kind of talked about the how unnecessary it all was, but it's still, I think, my favorite scene that I walked away with from this season, I think.
He helped murder his dad.
Yeah.
It's really well animated too.
Yes,
really good.
It's true. And then for my Willow, and then obviously my favorite scene in Willow is probably when Mad Morgan finally gets a sword.
Pretty good.
Feels like a payoff. And that's that one is just purely, I have lots of nostalgia for that one. So, who wants to go next?
I think I'll follow because mine's because of nostalgia. It's in Willow. I really like the scene when they're in the cart chase.
The first one,
leaving the tavern.
Yeah.
In the film.
Oh,
where Mad Mardigan's taking the fruit out of his bra to throw at them, and there's the ninja stars and the broken wheels, and I think the cinematography is real cool. And
it holds up, man. It really does.
Oh, yeah, it's Ron Howard, man. Didn't fuck around.
Sinister.
Okay, for me,
Yeah.
I'll go. Mine's in The Cheap Detective. The very first scene. All of the dead people that are frozen. I found that hilarious, and as I brought up in the podcast, I was.
I like that out of context.
Yeah, sister, I recommend this. I think it's a U type of movie. I was very excited for this movie after that because I was like, "Oh, this is going to be very funny." Unfortunately, that was the funniest gag, but it was
a good hook.
Came really strong. Yeah.
It was a great hook.
Yeah,
it got me.
For a little more for you, since you weren't there, Sinister. I didn't know it was a parody for the first 15 minutes. I was just so confused as to what I was watching.
That was great in the podcast. I couldn't believe it took you that long.
Yeah, the stars had aligned for me. I didn't detect that it was a parody until like
the opening crawl is such a joke, and you're like, okay, interesting wording, but okay.
Exactly, yeah, that's pretty much what I was like. I'm like, why are the Nazis in San Francisco again? I didn't know.
For as literate you are in writing and plot points, that is surprising that you didn't get the parody. I guess though parodies that's a interest.
It was definitely it was a long week, which didn't help for me. Well, but it was
Crimson also didn't pitch it as one.
Yeah, you also
didn't pitch it as anything.
Yeah, he didn't. It wasn't pitched to me in any specific, so I just kind of went in at the very specific mindset. So I picked it up though with the whole full first phone call that the main character gets. That's when I'm like, all right, I need to go rewatch everything.
And what time is it?
Yeah.
If I had a favorite scene, probably I like this again Pinocchio. When he's crafting Pinocchio, drunk and all that stuff. I like it because you can. It's so Frankenstein. Yeah, because again, he's drunk, so some of it's done, and they also talk about that in the behind the scenes a little bit. But that's that particular scene. I think it's like a five or so minute little description or whatever. But it's very interesting because I didn't really think about it until as the movie went on. I was like, oh yeah, he is kind of. He's only got one ear. He's not quite right, and one of his hand is more intricate than the other one, and and I just like how there's so much fury, and there's so much it's animated, but so much animation and the movements and all that stuff in that scene that I think it's most, and especially in stop motion, most directors would be like, okay, tone it down a little bit because it's going to take fucking forever to do this, and I'm glad that they actually did the whole thing and not just kind of toned it down just to make it easier.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Guess I'll open it up to more general questions if anyone has any. So beyond ratings or
if you were gonna go to least favorite scene.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
I have an easy answer.
All right, least favorite scene. Spring.
My least favorite scene is episode 5, Wildwood and the Willow Show, when Kit and Jade almost kiss. The tone shift is.
I'm having deja vu. Didn't you already say that?
Yeah.
I just talked about it before as a tone shift rather than what writer called pacing, but the fact that that is still coherently one scene in the woods, it wasn't a transition use.
The pop music for me was really bad.
You know
I don't
what?
know if I
just
can.
hear
So I was watching it, and I liked the music. I agree that some of it didn't fit, but I'll you know what? I'll die on this hill. I think more of it fit than didn't fit.
Oh.
The first couple didn't.
Then I begin writing the tragic tale of you dying
and-
on the hill.
And this is regards for the credit music
Yeah.
in context to what writer. Okay.
No, not all the incidental music, because definitely some of that was the worst one. Episode 5 when they're getting chased. That was the worst.
When they were
When
so
the villagers were
bad.
on the floor.
I will
That
say
was ridiculous.
I will offer you this compromise though, Sinister. I do think that if they were to do pop music, I'm happy most of it was reserved just for the end credits.
Yeah.
And as I think I told everyone else on the podcast, I actually think I like most of the music. I just don't think it tonally fits.
I will concede that they could have done it we got to separate here from pop music to incidental music. So I think incidental definitely needed to be orchestra and not rock. That's what I'll concede there. And I would have liked when the one that I liked the most that they used for the end credits, I think it was the end of episode 3, episode 4, with Eric when you finally see him in like the Morton City or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They played Black Hole Sun, but it was all piano, and I thought that was awesome. That like fit really, really well.
Yeah. I think that.
But if they had played,
yeah.
But if they'd played like Soundgarden's Black Hole Sun with like metal guitars and everything, I would have been like, no, doesn't fit, doesn't work. But so if they had like actual songs, if they kind of rework them to be more in the style of whatever fantasy era they're portraying, that would have worked more. But like I said, I think some of those it would have not worked, but they would have to change the music. But I think the music worked more often than it didn't for the most part, depending on which incidental or
Good Vibrations was really weird.
No, I that went on way too long. They shouldn't have played like the whole thing. But I liked it for the moment. But once it kind of actually got to like the Good Vibrations stuff, I was like, no. But the vibe of the song fit. The lyrics did not, which is the unfortunate part. That's a 50-50 on that one.
Can my answer be just episode 5?
Can you? I was gonna say it. Whole episode 5 is. Ugh.
Sure.
I'm having trouble pinpointing anything.
Nailing it down. That's fair.
It also sucks. That was awful because I really liked episode 4, and I was kind of hoping that was going to be the turning point where I'd really start getting more into the show. Because for the most of it, I just thought it was passable, and I really liked episode 4. And then they go to episode 5, and I'm like, wow, this is bad. This is probably not improving. Actually, that's probably like the last good part.
I have a lot of pet peeves with the show, but I don't think any of the fight scenes are particularly well choreographed. There are some where it gets close to being passable, but
see, I don't know. I thought it was like actually like more choreographed than the movie, which felt odd. I don't know. But then again, there were less fight scenes.
I will say that they were more choreographed. My issue is that they were choreographed badly. There was a lot of repeated motions and things like that really got under my skin. But that's just a pet peeve. I'm trying to think of my least favorite scene overall. I don't know. The first 15 minutes of Chief Detective, me not understanding, that was probably.
Well, that's just good. You went back and restarted knowing the knowledge. You didn't continue with it.
Yeah, that's true. But that really funny mental state I was in there for that. Least favorite scene.
The Truth Plum sucked. Willow's escape,
that-
where we didn't
that
see
was-
how he escaped,
I
was
think I'm gonna-
mind-boggling.
I think I'm gonna agree with you, Crimson. I think it's just that whole episode because that stuff is typically like the kind of thing I actually really really dig in fantasy, which is the moment of fresh air. Like you got a moment to breathe and relax where everyone's partying and stuff. Like because this is supposed to help us develop characters and stuff like that, but it did nothing. The only characters developed is Jade, and we agree that's character breaking as far as we're concerned.
The only thing I can remember from Wildwood off the top of my head that I liked was the kind of backstory that Borman has in the tent.
Yeah, that was kind of
like recalling of how he broke out of Skellen and the trolls, and
how it's
he has
different,
like this past
different from what he's
connection to the Bone
telling.
Reavers. Yeah,
that's
it's more story on Borman, and I like that. Everything else, I kind of agree. It's pretty dog shit.
The only thing I liked in that episode was the beard joke. That was it.
You didn't have a girlfriend.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with episode 5 it was episode 5. Yeah. So yeah, I gotta just label it. I suppose it's that. Shoot.
It's a cop out, but I think it's justified one.
It's a cop out, but it's justifiable. I think otherwise it's gonna be Pinocchio Minecraft swimming up the water.
Yeah.
Or him swimming underwater to save Geppetto because he's wood and should float.
No.
At least that looked better.
Yeah.
Like at least that's the more thematic.
It's only breaking in a logical sense, but it's fucking magic, so who cares? It doesn't matter.
I mean, hey, we know what material he is, so it matters.
So Sinister, I guess you're all that's left for least favorite scene.
I'm having to go through the whole fucking Willow show right now. I know there was something that just broke me that was just as bad as the.
What was it? The beginning?
Oh, it's like you're my brother. I'm your king.
No, that was nah, but
yeah, the Sorcerer Willow flashback bit.
No, I mean that was that was not
riddles,
great, but
Christian Slater.
Oh yeah, the D&D.
I know I'm probably minority here. I liked the Christian Slater character. I think he could have been better, but whatever. It was only one episode, so
like everything else on the show, I think he's good in concept.
He's a great actor.
Yes,
sad
that's
he got
true.
put in this.
Good actor. Yes.
He's better than Borman. Whatever. Fuck. It doesn't matter. That's like arguing about like he was in one episode, so it's like no point. But anyways, I guess I'll just say episode 5 because I can't. But I know there was like some other scene. The whole Alora Dannon fight with like Kit was kind of weird. I didn't really understand that one.
Which one?
Yeah, exactly. The one when the lava pits, which isn't lava.
Everyone's saying, "Come on, we gotta go!"
It's pretty fucking terrible.
I mean, it works. It's just the worst setup for that fight.
Look, there's the wand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's impressive the fact that the trolls are able to just farm evil. I don't know how they're able to do that, but good on them.
It's a mineable source that you have to liquefy.
Good thing Kit didn't turn evil by touching it like they established the rules to be.
You mean they set up because they set up because she was really out of it and was getting very weak and then stopped and then it was all okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of, again, red herrings, everybody. Red herring. Overabundant.
It's just the bonus put out part, including Sinister for Willow.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, that's kind of what this is for, in a degree.
Yeah, recap.
Yeah.
I guess my last question before the final question, unless someone else,
the final question.
The final answer. Because we got 3 different like settings here and time frames. Willow show also kind of changes in what I'm about to ask, but favorite costume or character design across any of this, because we got Chief Detective, which is like 30s 40s, We get the medieval fantasy with Willow, and then we got the denim with the Willow show, and we got whatever Pinocchio is, the 1940s wartime
30s,
in Italy.
1930s.
Oh,
Yeah.
30.
40.
Interwar period.
60.
I'll go second.
So specific.
I
All right.
throw in some flair.
Yeah.
All
All right, I'll go if people need time. So Pinocchio, not Pinocchio the character in the movie. I would say the forest spirit. I really liked the design and the blue glow they did. Sprix and I talked about whether or not that was practical lighting because they didn't cover the lighting of that character in the behind the scenes. They talked about the torch and some other stuff, but not the forest sprite. So I don't know if that was practical lighting or not, but I think it looked really good regardless, as well as like the angel comparison with like the realistic angel from the Bible or whatever with all the eyes and everything. I think the character looked really good.
That's fair. Second. So
Good color of
Sprix.
blue.
Yeah, that's me. I also am gonna go with Pinocchio. I like Count Volpe, the look of him, because I thought it was and probably is, comparison to Honest John. So my whole thing was he looked like a fox with the nose and the fox ears of his hair, and he has a fox head on his cane. So I thought it was all of Honest John. And then behind the scenes, they said his look was to go off of the devil, and those were like devil horns. And I thought that was really creative that both can be seen in this one look of him.
Yeah.
All right, I can go next. I'm kind of on Crimson's page again with I really like the sphinxes and the angels in Pinocchio. But aside from that, I'm a huge fantasy nerd, so I like things that look like they have really, really grounding in fantasy. I like Mad Mortigan's armor in Willow.
Not the Iron
the
Man
gold
suit?
armor.
Yeah, the gold armor. And then if I'm gonna pick something from the show, I actually like Alora's green kind of
The knitted
scarf
type outfit.
Yeah, I really like Alora's outfit when she's not wearing her stupid denim jacket. She has like my favorite version of her outfits where it's like the green like knitted stuff with like a brown leather cloak over it.
I think it's apparent in episode 2 when they're at the river.
Yeah,
She's wearing that.
I think that was my favorite, one of my favorite costumes, I suppose. Beauty and simplicity for fantasy. I really liked it. Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's
Sinister.
Those are my two.
I really liked overall. I think most of the, because I do like that interwar period, like you're Italian, but European kind of area, in Pinocchio. Because I kind of like, because it's sort of this weird mix of like industrial age, but it's still like kind of in the Renaissance era, or not Renaissance, but
Yeah. It's
that in between of like industrialization's coming, and then there's also the practical farming is still, and so I kind of like that. And I'll just I am going to give it to I like the design of Pinocchio because it's it's kind of ugly, and I don't know, it fits the vibe.
ugly in a charming way.
It is ugly.
Ugly in a charming way, because it's. Again, I think he even said it a bunch of times, Guillermo del Toro was trying to separate it from the Disney version. And so they definitely, in tone and story, it's very, very different.
Yeah. Don't worry, Disney is working on trying to separate from their own work with the whole live-action take on Pinocchio. So.
Don't get me started on that. Oh,
Yeah.
the live-action news of Disney that have come out is.
They're doing is it Hunchback of Notre Dame is going to be a live action?
Oh
Hunchback,
God, is it?
Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, Lilo and Stitch is the
Moana.
one. That's the one I'm like, meh.
Wait, is that
they already
true?
did Moana. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know the Stitch and Hunchback. What?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah, the Stitch
God.
one, they already cast Lilo. That came
This
out, I think,
is
last week.
Terrible.
See, I'm
I
gonna go
just
back to
knew about Moana.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to Living.
The Moana one makes the least amount of sense though, because they've already done that movie. So why would they make a live action one?
You could say that about any of their live action ones.
Yeah, but
They
at least
don't
the other ones that
stitch is
came
gonna
out like
be
40,
horrible.
50 years ago, not like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Also, I guess in live action news to that, news is supposedly rumoring around about the Little Mermaid of their doctoring the music and songs for it because Kiss the Girl is a bit too subjective or too suggestive. So the lyrics are changing that, and then Poor Unfortunate Souls is about what was it, men's manipulation or something. So they're changing the lyrics of songs. And
I mean, that's not unheard of, but
They
yeah,
love rewriting history. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
that's too suggestive, huh? Interesting.
All right.
something like that I heard.
I mean, that sounds like a very Disney thing to say. So I don't
Is-
doubt that.
I guess I got the
Spring.
last general question, unless you got more.
Oh, go
Crimson.
for it.
Well, I just have a comment. Surprised you didn't do General Kale for design. That was going to be my guess for you.
I like his helmet. It's a pretty cool, iconic helmet. The rest of his armor is just kind of meh.
Just kind of meh.
I don't know. His helmet really stands out as a focal point, but it's like his chest design and kind of like his arm and legs is just kind of.
Well, they
Just
definitely came with the helmet, and then they just stopped there, and they didn't think they needed anything else.
I like the aesthetic of his armor a lot because I mean, like it's very practical, quote unquote, and it's very inspired. But you don't really see the detail because it's all black. And in
I
that
do.
vein.
I do really like that his beard is an outline of like the bottom fur of the skull, because the helmet is just the skull itself. So I do like that, how it's an outline for the skull.
Yeah, I mean it is a cool head. I mean anything with a skull on it is usually pretty cool.
I did bring up I posted it in the Discord, but I think it would be cool if General Kale was announced just like a Dead by Daylight character.
Just screaming, "Now
Yeah,
you
just
die!"
something.
with a fucking serrated sword.
Yeah, no mercy.
Yeah, aesthetically he would fit in. I mean,
It could just be.
Unfortunately, they already have a knight. Yeah, they already have a knight character.
I already have a knife.
Give him a skin for General Kale.
There you go.
I'd be okay with that. All right. If that is all, I'll ask the usual last question.
I do have one thing to throw in there.
Oh, all right.
It's not a question, but it's something to save my skin a little. It's something I noticed that I did, and I like to just put it out in case anyone's didn't comment yet. But if you came across it, in Willow, I called Eric when he appeared on screen Dickless, which was making a reference to Ghostbusters, because I thought William Atherton, who plays Walter Peck in Ghostbusters, played Eric. That is not correct. Eric is played by Gavin O'Hearley, and they're not the same actor. So that's my mistake.
Is this for the show or for the movie?
For the movie.
Okay.
The Eric in the movie.
Yeah,
Because I thought they were the same actors. They are not.
that's fair. Okay. I guess the last question is, how do you feel the season has gone, or how did you feel that it went?
I guess I'll go. It was a different season, not just because the tier list was present, but for me, none of the picks were like insane. Pinocchio was good,
Insane.
but as I said, it's probably not something that will stick with me for much time. If someone wants to talk Pinocchio, I'll talk about it, but it's not something.
It might stick to Sinister, because Sinister, you said you almost
it'll
gave it a
definitely
10.
stick to Sinister. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I would.
I'm talking about.
If we didn't have a whole discussion about it, I probably would have given it. Yeah. Because I like that. I like that the aesthetic. I love the work behind it, because it's not easy.
Yeah. So there's nothing in here for me that I'm like I'd be passionate in watching again. I did give Pinocchio, I think, a 7,
Yes.
which would be in my will watch again category, and I totally would. It's just I don't see me doing that anytime soon. It might be like a nostalgia movie
Have you watched the movie yet that you've been like really passionate about that you would watch again?
that I haven't picked myself.
Yeah, that you haven't picked yourself. Yeah.
That's a great
Lightyear.
question. That's funny.
You shouldn't laugh because he's being deadly serious.
No, that's
Maybe Belle, even though I gave that a 6.5, I believe.
Belle? Really?
I'd have to look. Yeah.
All right.
It's a good question because a lot of my stuff is fueled kind of by nostalgia. So.
Serenity.
I was just, yeah,
Oh, wait,
I
no,
mean,
there's no one.
I was just asking because I know for you, because I've, before we had a podcast, I would show you stuff that I was like really passionate about, and you're a hard man to please. I'll just say that right now. Everything I would be like, this is a 10 out of 10 movie for me. And you're like, 5, 6.
I might know one. It's not a movie, but Mystery Incorporated.
Okay, yeah, I have seen that. Since we've covered it.
I know another one, but it will stick with you for the wrong reasons. Jurassic World Dominion.
See, that's not something I want to watch again, though.
But it's stuck with you, though. It's like you can't avoid it. Yeah.
Was that the question? What's going to stick with me?
Well, that's just what you said. You were like, I don't think I'm going to take.
I thought you asked what I'd watch again.
Well, that was the other part.
No, the question is more like, how did you feel the season went? But just in general.
Oh, something that's going to stick with you, Velma.
Yeah,
that's. Unfortunately, I'll be on my deathbed. That's going to be my only remaining memory is Velma.
So, just to read it, there was 2 questions posed there of 2 different things of which what will you take with you after this? Which you said nothing really from this season would really stick with you.
Everything
right
will stick with me. I remember everything we've covered. In terms of me just watching it on my own again, I'm looking at the list now. Avatar 2, I'd probably watch again if I were to have an Avatar marathon.
Hit me up. I'll watch it with you again.
Yeah, how many times you've had that in your life on Avatar marathon?
Well, there hasn't been more than one to marathon.
No, you can marathon one movie and just have it on a loop.
I guess I've had a Night at the Museum marathon and a Cards marathon before then. Yeah, Belle, maybe Greatest Showman. That's pretty much it outside of my personal picks.
Fair enough. I guess Sinister. What did you feel about the season for what you were here for? And when you weren't, you did watch at least the Willow show. So how did you feel about this season?
I mean, this is pretty good. I mean, it was a kind of, I think, not to downgrade it or anything or compare it to. I mean, this was kind of a mid-tier season, I think, for the most part. I think the high for me was probably Pinocchio, but just because I really wanted to watch that, and I kind of needed a decent excuse to make time for it. Probably the lowest point was the Willow show for me, if I had one. But like I said, that was for the most part up until like the last half was passable. Yeah, I mean, I would I watched Willow before this season. I'll probably watch the Willow movie again after it. Definitely, I've watched Pinocchio again since then. Don't think I'll probably be watching the Willow show again unless there's a
probably
season 2. Yeah, and then I'll probably have to cover it again, but I think that's going to be happening. So yeah, I mean, this is it was decent. I think we had a good mix here of some nostalgia, some new good stuff, some old decent stuff, and some new not quite so good stuff. But all in all, good bag.
Yeah, Springs.
I quite enjoyed this season. I liked it. Cheap Detective was kind of thrown out of nowhere. I never knew of it like that. Pinocchio, something I knew of, hadn't seen before, so like that. Willow, grew up with, nostalgic, and that's the one I pitched. And knowing so, I knew the connection to the show would have to be made. So the show was thrown in there, and I think out of these choices, what I'd see again is Willow, because I feel I'll see Willow again. But because of now seeing the show, I think the movie's going to just be better to me. I'm just like, wow, this is so much better than the show. Wow, this is so great. The show was not needed, or something along those lines. But to me, I think the most surprising thing that I really enjoyed was the tier list. It was something new. It was also something I pitched of variation, and I think it went really well. And I'm kind of excited to see if we do something else in that field again, or try to experiment and do something else, maybe see how it goes with the listeners or people who watch along on YouTube and the feedback from it.
Yeah, that'd be. I kind of agree with that. Well, the Willow show is kind of clouded for me. That was my 1 week off from college, university, so didn't exactly enjoy spending my time taking notes on the show. But but other than that, I actually think I quite enjoyed the season. Obviously, Willow nostalgia. Definitely will probably rewatch that in the future. Pinocchio, I'm probably will rewatch it again because I still have a lot of mixed feelings towards the movie. In a good way, like I want to absorb all it has to offer, and that's something that I'm kind of happy I watched it twice, and I think I'd still be happy to watch it 3 or 4 times to kind of just get all I can from it. I don't know if my rating will change, but we shall see. And then the tier list was fun. I pretty much agree with everything Spring said, so to avoid being an echo chamber. And the Chief Detective was definitely the surprise one for me. I feel like I want to watch it again, just because I know a lot of the jokes went over my head because, different time, different era. And while I don't think my objective rating and my subjective rating are both subject to change for that, but I do remember like laughing a fair bit of the time and not laughing at the rest because it was going over my head. So, it's overall interesting season for me.
We didn't get any comments this time around, but make sure to do that on our socials and on the YouTube stuff. All that jazz. It's on my
And it doesn't
place.
have to be, it doesn't have to be because of how we record things. We'll see them later down the line, but it can be anything.
On anything.
And anything that's shown or to comment wise. So don't think that like season 1, is far behind us. We can still talk about season 1 in an upcoming recap.
Yeah. In that case, I will read us out, gentlemen, if we are ready.
Yep.
Sure.
All right. As always, you can find us on Spotify, or thank you for listening wherever you were on Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, Amazon, Castbox, Podcast, or Samsung. Obviously, we appreciate if you're also on the YouTube side of things. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, tell how much you hate our opinions or how much you love them. As always, I have been a Geeky Writer.
I'm Crimson Maroon.
A character called Sinister Boy.
And I'm Sprinks.
And we will catch you in another time period. Later, everybody.
Bye.
Yeah, toodaloo.